Hello, welcome to Share the Sage Ministries, part two. Last week we talked about open your mouth and a mighty decree. I didn't, because I gave a lengthy report on the training center. I didn't only do one verse out of the lesson I had from last week. So we're back in Psalms 81, and we'll start with open your mouth when a mighty decree, not the beginning, and go to the end of the chapter and talk about two verses. So first, Lord, here we are. Bless us with your presence. Teach through me. Teach through me, Lord. For you are good. You are mighty. And you want us to grow and mature and become more and more like you, from glory to glory. Let your pleasant presence flow out from here. Remember to like and share. Open your mouth with a mighty decree. I will fill it now, you'll see. The words that you speak, so shall it be. But my people still wouldn't listen to me. My princely people would not yield to me. So we learned to open our mouth in a mighty decree, but they didn't do it. They didn't listen. So I lifted my grace from off of their lives. They didn't listen. God told them what to do, and they didn't listen, so he lifted his grace, and they had to suffer some consequences, because there's things that cannot happen when we learn to do that mighty decree. And I surrendered them to their stubbornness of their hearts, for they were living according to their own selfish fantasies. When doesn't opening your mouth a mighty decree work? When we are refusing to obey him, refusing to hear him, deciding that I know best. I want my own way. I'm what's important. I have to do what's best for me. Sound familiar? I've heard those words almost exactly quoted that way. Oh, that my people would once and for all listen to me and walk faithfully in my footsteps, following my ways. Then and only then will I conquer your every foe and tell every one of them, you must go. We have to listen to God. This is where we didn't get to. With that mighty decree, we have to listen to God. We have to do it his way. He has to be in the center of our lives. We can't worship other gods. That was also in last week's teaching. We must have our eyes focused on him if we want peace, if we want joy, real happiness, real success in our lives. That doesn't mean the way is always going to be easy. It's not. But living in the Philippines can sometimes be difficult, especially the extreme heat and humidity. My husband likes the mountains. We live in the mountains in Georgia, where it's cooler. Now we have some hot summers, don't get me wrong, but it's hot year-round here. I'm on month 8. Well, actually, starting Wednesday, I'm on month 8. By the time this comes out, I will be well into July, and I will be here 8 months. And there are times I struggle with the heat. There are times I struggle with the language and the misunderstandings. Because even though I have many friends who do speak from some to a lot of English, often I'll say something and I realize when things start happening, they didn't understand a word I said. One of my contacts said, sometimes you sound like a bird tweeting. Tweet, 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 tweet. We don't understand a word you're saying. I'm just like, okay. So there's a lot of misunderstanding within the context on both sides, because sometimes they'll be speaking English and I don't understand a word they're saying, and I know it's English because I recognize a word or two. And the fun part is when this has happened with multiple people, they turn to me, grab my arm, look me in the eye, and start talking, and they're not speaking English. And I'll be looking at them, and eventually I'll tap their arm, and I'm saying, you're not speaking English. I don't understand a word you're saying. Now I'm in their country. I should be speaking their language, and I do understand certain words, but you cannot learn an entire language and all of the slang and the dialects in 7 months. And I've always struggled with learning a language in the traditional ways, memorizing route memory, and then trying to put it into context is not the easiest thing to do. So, sorry, I may have to move back over to my other room. I'm staying in a studio apartment that belongs to somebody else for a few weeks. No windows, just screens, so every noise outside. That means sometimes my sleep is distracted. Plus, there are rats in the ceiling. Then and only then will I conquer your every foe and tell everyone they must go. When we listen faithfully and walk in his footsteps, following his ways, doing what he wants, following his ways. When we follow his ways, that's when he conquers our foe. That's when he opens the doors. That's when he makes... We can't do things our way and expect him to do things our way and then be mad at God for not conquering our foes or for the hardness of the life we live because we refuse. Because even in the hard times here, I'm at peace. I am perfectly at peace. Yes, I struggle with homesickness sometimes. I'm not saying that. Yes, I struggle because I want to see my grandchildren. And occasionally I wish I knew how to destroy a mass of newborn frogs. No frogs, and then all of a sudden we had some really heavy rains. I don't know how many frogs are out there now, but they grump all night long, and I don't have windows closed. Several times I've almost moved back into the room, and I will be shortly. This will be out in July. The end of July, beginning of August, I'm moving back into the room they prepared for me. I'm just an independent American that just needed some space. And I'll be returning because I love them. My room is beautiful. This room's bigger, but I think my room is nicer in a lot of ways. And I'll be headed back over there. So God is going to conquer our foes when we walk in his ways. We can't learn his ways without preachers preaching the truth from the pulpit, without going to schools, Bible schools, Bible studies. You don't even have to go to school, Bible studies. Studying the word for ourselves is most important. Daily. I open and end my day. I open my day studying the word, and then I go and study for my doctorate degree, and I study I'm preaching next Sunday at a small church, and I'll study for my message, and I'll write my papers, and then I'll relax. By the time lunchtime is here, I've had put 4 or 5 hours in because I get up so early. There's no way to sleep once, even in my room across the road. Once people are up, you hear the motorcycles in the background. You can hear the music from the store probably in the background. And I'm living in an apartment on top of the store, but I can hear it in my room just across the driveway. I'm not far from my original room. We have a basketball court, and often they'll play basketball, yelling and screaming. Healthy, wonderful, doesn't bother me, but it's loud. And occasionally they do. The pastor across the street is the pastor. He's under the bigger church, the same group that I'm with. We'll have. My mind is just blank, but he'll go out and he'll play basketball. They'll play Christian music. He'll give a brief message and works with the youth on the basketball court. And the Filipinos have no idea how everything has to be full volume. They don't know how to do the churches, the Bible school. Sometimes I want it turned down so just the people I'm talking to, because of some of our situations, there's things I can't preach or say because it's so loud that it could bring in danger. And they don't know how to turn the volume down. It's like, if you ask them to turn the volume down, they turn it off. I didn't ask you to turn it off. I asked you to turn the volume down. It's like the music downstairs. If I go down and ask her to turn it down, and she only does this while she's cleaning, she would turn it off. And then I would feel bad because I don't mind her music unless I'm doing this. I'm still figuring things out. I really am. And sorry, that was a rabbit trail. Probably didn't need to be taken. Those who hate my ways will cringe before me, and their punishment will be eternal. But I will feed you with my spiritual bread. Who is he feeding? Not those who hate him. You have to go back. Those who walk in his ways. His spiritual bread. The young people that are managing to get their degrees, the auditors, they get something out of this. They truly do. Those with the degrees are going to get more because I'll involve them in the projects, like I talked last time, teaching. Several of them I'm hoping will join the teaching staff, because my dream is to be able to travel and start other schools, but also not to spend 10 months a year here, but come and go, because they will be trained. One of the students I'm training as a teacher, I'm hoping to train to run the school. And every time I think I would like to see where I can come and go, I'm looking and going, but I'll need to go to Dubai and start a school, but I'll need to go to Manila and start a school. And each startup needs to have hands-on for the first year minimal. I'm saying, okay, Lord, I'm up for this. I'm up for this. I just have to wait on God's timing for him to show me, because he's given me some very interesting prophecies recently that I don't understand, and I like to guess. I don't understand, but I definitely, after all these years, recognize that my interpretation of the prophecies and the visions are more often than not wrong. That I have to wait for God to show me what he's telling me. And he actually told me, I can't tell you what this means yet because you'll try to jump into it and it's not time. So I've learned to become patient and read the prophecies and study the prophecies and believe the prophecies without recognizing that, oh, I think it means this, that it probably doesn't. You need to remember that about your prophecy too. You think you know what it is, and then when it happens, and what you think doesn't happen, you get disappointed and think God didn't keep his promise. Well, you've either made it so he can't, because we can block the promises of God. We can block them. But also, it may come about in a way that I've had prophecies I thought didn't happen, and then look back and I went, oh, it did happen. It just didn't happen the way I thought it was going to happen. So let's read the last verse. We will feast and be satisfied with what? For I will feed you with my spiritual bread. You will feast and be satisfied with me. We will feast and be satisfied with the Lord our God, our King. Feeding on his revelation truth like honey dripping from the cliffs of the high place. Sometimes when you get up in the high places where there's more flowers or more whatever the bees are pollinating, the honey change. You can have dark honey and light honey. You could have sweet honey and a richer types of honey, and they're all wonderful. And some I like better than others. And we will feed on his honey, his sweetness, his revelation light, his revelation truth, when we follow his ways, when we hear him, obey him, and walk in his ways. It's not that hard, guys. And yet it's very difficult. And I've walked the path, and I've got a long path ahead of me. God has told me I will see many years. I don't know if I want 120, but it's available to me. I had a prophet, actually, I'd been praying about that, and a prophet in a service came up to me and said, God has heard you, and you have 120 years available to you. He didn't say you will have 120 years, you have it available. I believe I have some choices, and I want to choose God's choices. If he wants me here for 120 years preaching, then I want to be here for 120 years preaching. So we're going to have a short one today because I wanted to continue last week's and do the whole thing. Open your mouth, the mighty decree, and he will bless you. You'll see. Follow his ways in all you do, and he can open the paths of life to you. Did not mean to be a poet. And when we follow his ways, then we are fed on his revelation truth. And it's the sweetest thing, and we can have everything he means for us to have. When we walk, and I've been studying, I just finished my last paper in Wealth of the Wicked to the Righteous. 10 weeks, intensive classes on the transfer of the wealth of the wicked. And so that's just one of these special things we have when we follow his ways, when we hear his voice, when he has trained us and when we're mature on handling money and how to handle it and what it means to be given the wealth of the wicked as Christians. And And by the way, yes, we can have a new car, and yes, we can have a nice house, but he does not give us the wealth of the wicked, millions, even billions of dollars, to leave it in a bank and say, I've got the wealth of the wicked, I'm wealthy. He gives the wealth, and I'll teach on this another time, so that we can walk in his ways, decree, support schools like mine, support your churches. Sometimes you'll support other things in other ways than through the church or through foundations. You may even have your own foundation, feed the hungry, have open homes for single mothers who've been thrown out because their parents, we have our church, and I have to be careful not to cross church and school because I have authority in the church, and I'm under authority I have authority in the school and under authority in the church. But to open doors for, especially here where people become Christians, they're thrown out and have nowhere to go, and this church tries to take them in, and learning to set the proper rules at the proper time you have to have rules. And so opening not just dorms, that's like I talked about last time, having dorms for people to be able to go to school in person, but also to have buildings with, say, studio apartments for people who've been thrown out but who are willing to follow the rules of living in a community. Why they go to school and get their life together and eventually be able to afford to go out and find their own place, get married, have their own kids, but that in-between step between becoming a Christian and thrown out and becoming mature in the Lord, while some will go into ministry, some will go into government, some will go into business, etc. All those spheres of influence, where they get their education and find their jobs. Our church does that. It's interesting. And I would like to have a little bigger place. It's very crowded at the church because they take in whoever needs to be taken in. I'm not criticizing. These young people appreciate every minute of it. They have a roof over their heads. They're not sleeping on the streets. They are able to go to school. I would just like, and it may be under a different umbrella than the school, probably will be under a different, whether it's under the church or under another part of my ministry, not just here in the Philippines, but to have that in-between place, especially in countries, even our country, this is happening a little bit more, where young people are thrown out because they become Christians. They're thrown out because young women thrown out because they become pregnant and they're on the streets, and that's where sex trade picks them up, and that's where gang rapes. That's where all kinds of all kinds of slavery occur, where they pull these young people off of the streets. Some are forced to work in the sex trade. Some are forced to work in many other undesirable conditions. And I know there are places, I just read about a place, and there are places, but even I couldn't. Nobody can, no matter how much money you have, do everything. It takes a family, it takes a team, it takes people of like mind to work together or to start something, eventually find each other, just to connect. How do you do it? And learn from each other. And God has placed this desire for a very, very large house, and people would say that's selfish. It has so much more to do with your money. But I keep seeing it filled with people. A large living room, large kitchen, large dining area, place for me. Having a house mother, somebody they'll respect, and then having the upper floors filled with people who have nowhere to go, and helping them get on their feet and sending them out so we can help the next group of people who have nowhere to go, to train them in the Lord, to help them achieve a craft, a skill. And so when you're supporting my ministry, mostly I've asked for support from the school, but my ministry is also start opening a second umbrella here in the Philippines. We're not quite there yet, and I can't go into too much details until it happens. There's a group of churches that have asked if they can come under my ministry because of a situation. And so there's a second umbrella opening here that I will be in touch. I'm not even running it. I'm covering it. I will be involved as an advisor. I am not even trying to run it. I'm available as an advisor and a counselor, and I know the people that'll be in charge very, very well. I wouldn't just do this for somebody I didn't know. But it's another area of ministry, and now I'm looking at two other areas. One is a business. I haven't invested in a business here to cover because people of the boomers were givers. The rest of the generations after the boom, each one are donate less and less. They don't go through the church. They don't donate. And the money I have coming in, it was enough to start the school, but the partners aren't coming. So what do I do? Beg? No. If you want to partner, contact me. There is a blessing in partnering with apostles and prophets. There is a blessing. Don't do it to do that. Do it because it's what God wants you to do. But there has to be other options, and I'd like to see this financed also within country. I'd like to see their church to start giving. I don't know why they're not. I don't know why they haven't asked them. Maybe the people are waiting to see if the church takes off. I don't know. Maybe it will happen a little more when this second umbrella is fully covering the new ministries that are coming in. But the one thing I've done is I have invested in a local pastor who's doing a combination of a plantation. I live on a banana plantation, but he also grows, they're looking at adding coconuts to another piece of the property. They grow avocados, they grow healing leaves, and I've invested in the business to expand to meat goats and not just the wild goats turned tame from the area, which don't have enough meat on them, and they're not milking them. So what do you do with these goats? I'm encouraging, we're looking up yours. They take a little more care, that you can't leave them just run wild. You have to take care of them. But it's an in-demand meat here. So I've invested in that business, my husband and I. And I'm talking and not there yet. I'm building one of the problems we have. So yes, you're getting more school. Pray about these things. One of the problems we've had is finding materials in country. There are several very large online bookstores in country and online and where you can go to them. And they are from very conservative churches, like Baptist churches, where there's nothing wrong. But what's interesting, I can't get basic study books. Like I could not find F.F. Bruce. I found F.F. Bruce, his book on Romans. It was $300. I bought it for $15, and we'll carry it. I will have it sent back with somebody who's coming back to the country. It's been delivered. My husband was going to be boxing up in the next week or two and shipping them to. We have an evangelist that comes and stays for long periods of time, and he's agreed to bring the books. F.F. Bruce, $15. He'll bring it with him when he comes. $300 here in country. So I don't know how to do it yet. If any of you have the expertise, I want to get not only those, but I did actually find one Bill Johnson book. I believe it was, I think it had something to do with evangelism. I'm not sure. And I brought one on the Holy Spirit. But to find any books on the Holy Spirit, speaking in tongues, the fivefold ministry, the 7 spheres of influence, healing, faith and healing. I had to order the books and I'm ordering them in the States because the ones I can find, I did find books, a couple of books on hermeneutics and homineutics, but I realized I can get better quality from the United States. And what I'm praying about, you can pray with me, is finding a way, maybe working with Amazon, maybe working with Christian Books, and finding a way to get books to this country en masse. Have a business, I have to work with somebody in country, and maybe working with locals and finding ways to bring books cheaper so that we can get books into this country, and possibly even working with some of the authors I use, Bill Johnson, I have not contacted him yet. I am using one of his books. I would like to use some of his teachings, but to put them online, I'm going to need to have permissions and find out fees. May be able to do that through Wagner University. But opening a bookstore, and I think it would be highly successful if I can find a way to do it and keep the books. When you consider that 1,000 pesos is about $20, $22, yeah, about 20 bucks. Most of my students cannot afford 1,000 pesos, 20 bucks a month. And of the 6 students, only 2 are paying their own way. The rest are on scholarships because they can't live, they can't buy food and go to school. I have another 15 students auditing, because their time, they just don't have time to go to school, and we charge $200 a month for auditing. And as far as I can tell, nobody's paid the auditing fees, and at this point we're not throwing them out, which I believe the training is more important than the money at this point in time. That may change down the road, but right now my idea is to get the education to the home church people, and we'll see what happens from there. So pray about that. Getting materials here that we can use for what we're teaching, for opening their eyes, for taking ministry into the marketplace, into the business, into the government, into the different realms that people work in. How to do that in a very heavily Muslim country without getting killed. Interesting balance. So if you want to partner, please do. But more than that, give us wisdom. Pray for the banana plantation and the goat farm, because most of the proceeds, I'm an investor, and I believe there are 2, the pastor I work with and 2 others are owners. I'm an investor, so I'm a partner. And most of the money, once the profits start coming in, the first year or 2, you turn it back into your business, and then probably, except for your the tithe and maybe a portion to the school, most of the profits will be turned over to the school to help it grow, because we do not have enough donors to survive another year. I have one at my church was blessed us tremendously. I have, and we're still working off of the original offering, but $3,000 to $6,000 does not last long when you have to pay your teachers, you have to buy the books. We had to buy tables, and the money does flitter away. And for those of you who have supported, thank you. Thank you. It will take up to 2 years before the business I'm invested in is profitable. If we start the bookstore, it won't be till next year, and it could be a while before people realize what we have and start buying. And when they start buying, then we can grow. I've learned my lesson. I tried to start a bookstore 20 years ago, and I tried to start too big, and it failed. We'll start small out of the school, the church. We need our own place. We need to rent before we buy. Probably we need our own place outside of the church to meet for multiple reasons. Although the church is blessing us, we do pay rent. But a bookstore would be a blessing to the entire island, because we can go do both online and drive here and get your books. Most of the book will be online out of the Philippines, and the profits will probably, I have to be careful on taking profits for myself. It changes my visa. It changes, if I take salary, it changes my tax status. And I don't know, if I were to work, do I have to pay taxes in both the Philippines and the United States? I have to be careful like to take a stipend and not a salary. Because I have taken, God told me that I need to take the money for the teaching, and we're only paid for teaching for the classes we teach. So this month I will teach June. I usually would normally be 8, but I divided the class, and so the pastor that I divide it with has 4 classes, and I'll have 4 classes. Still only paid for 4 classes, not 8. We're only paid for what we do, and I agree with that. And I won't get anything for the next class because I'm not teaching. And well, why would I take a salary? Well, it's nice to have money to buy a chocolate bar or an ice cream bar now and then. It would be nice to be able to put enough money aside to be able to get a place in town and not so far away from town, near the school. And I am paying rent where I'm at, but I need to be able to have a big enough place to have somebody live with me, or they will oppose me for my safety. It would be nice to have a place big enough to have a couple live with me, because they want a man on the property. If I leave where I'm at and go closer to things where I can have a little more freedom, I need to have a couple, because they want a man on the property. Now, if I opened a house with a lot of people in it, I would be safe because there would be a lot of Filipinos around. So when I'm doing stuff, I have to consider my safety. So, and none of the teachers are making very much. We're all making the same thing. We only get paid when we teach, and it's a stipend. And I'm good with that. But if I'm going to hire teachers that need to make a living at it, salaries need to go up. So pray for the businesses, the plantation and goat farm, that it will prosper. Pray for the bookstore. If it's God's will, I'm not jumping into anything. And there's a couple other projects on the back burners that are just coming to light that may be good investments. I believe it was Cheon, I may be wrong, said that you should have 6 streams of income to support your ministry, because donations no longer do it. People no longer give generously to God. They just don't. Less than 2.5% of Christians tithe, and less than 10% of people give generously to support ongoing missions. So we have to find another way. And as it's coming to light that you have the nuclear church, the church that we go to, the church that, Bible studies and church services, and Wednesday night prayer meetings, and the extended church, which is the business realm, the government realm. And as we're realizing that the wealth of the wicked is probably going to be released through the marketplace, we need people who are willing to hear God's voice and give generously to His kingdom. And His kingdom would be our school. It is your churches. It is our school. It's programs that feed the hungry. It's programs that reach out to single mothers. It's programs that reach out to the elderly who are no longer have a home, and I'm hungry. Can you please, if somebody walks up to me in church, I'm an older woman, I'm hungry. Do you have anything? I'm so hungry, I haven't eaten in days. There should be a program in the church to help this widow. So, or maybe they don't help her because she smokes, and smoking is a sin and we can't support. No. They told me, but she smokes. And I said, okay, that's between her and God. It doesn't. Smoking is bad for your body. It will kill you. It's wrong on so many levels. But it doesn't keep you out of heaven, and it doesn't mean we don't feed the hungry. It doesn't mean we don't help the widows in the church. It doesn't mean we don't help those who can no longer work. And I'm hungry. And she's a prayer warrior, but she smokes. So I've gone over again today, and I was going to do it short at 13 minutes. I'm sorry, I'll cut it off now. I'm rambling because my heart is breaking for what I'm seeing. God bless you. I love you. I'll see you next week.